Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Justin Elick at Big Italy 42. Taking a look at tonight's 7-game slate. Holy hell, this is some bad pitching.
It's so ugly. I mean, this would be the perfect slate for a Coors game. And I know we've got that Coors Light game and Chase, but two serviceable pitchers at least, above average pitchers, I think. So there's definitely some creative ways to go, but there's not a single pitcher you look at tonight and you say that's the guy that I want. I mean, if you're looking on DraftKings, you kind of skip past Zach Godley because he only had 2 starts, but Brandon McCarthy and Chase Anderson are the highest scoring averages for the year, and they're at 15 points. So there's not a single pitcher that you just lock into your lineup and you just feel good about.
Nope. I'm with you. I mean, basically, there's a couple totals with under 4 runs, but I don't even feel comfortable. I'd probably bet the over if I was a betting man on those. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean.
Parlay all of the overs tonight.
Yeah, you really could. As far as we were talking for the most part about Luis Perdomo at home. I mean, he's probably the most serviceable arm here. I just think because everything stands out. And he's cheap still. He's scored 36 points in each of his last 3 starts on FanDuel. Hasn't even picked up a win in any of those. And, you can fit whatever bat in you want with him.
Yeah, it's a guy that his ground ball rate's almost 70%, giving up 20% hard contact, and he's missing some bats, 10% strikeout, swinging strike rate, 0.32 homers per 9. I think he's given up, 1 homer? Maybe, yeah, I think just 2 homers. Yeah. 2 homers so far. So, and it doesn't look like it's fluky either. 2.97 FIP. He's got a BABIP of 346, which seems crazy high, but that's right around his career average. So, it's not like he's getting lucky in that department. Left on base percentage only 65. So, those are all the things you're looking for in a fairly safe play, as a guy that can miss bats, keeps the ball on the ground, doesn't give up hard contact. And then you got the Brewers who don't have Ryan Braun. Obviously, this game, if it was in Miller Park, it might be a little bit different. But, considering it isn't in Miller Park, then I think it's actually, at Petco, he might just be price considered best option on tonight's slate. And it doesn't even feel that weird to say because, there's not a single red flag in those numbers that I'm looking at.
There's not. And I feel like if you look, he's always had a crazy high ground ball rate. And the BABIP, if that's career numbers, he's had an unlucky career so far, I feel. Because he doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. He's not inducing a lot of soft contact either. But, everything kind of checks out. It's like 70% ground ball rate, 20% strikeout rate. He's not walking a ton of guys. This Brewers team, I know they're solid. There's a lot of power. But going into that ballpark without Ryan Braun, it just makes sense because I look at this one, I look at all the floors and the ceilings, and it's like, okay, Dan Straley, Joe Musgrove, I'm not jumping out at any of these guys. And I think for a $2K, $2,500 difference, I'll just go to Perdomo.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, he hasn't had the toughest road to get to these numbers this year. But, last start in Texas did give up 3 earned. But if I remember right, 2 of those 3 earned came in his final inning. I think he had 1 earned through the first 5. He did walk 4 guys, but 7 Ks. Just the fly ball rate of 15%. That's how you get hurt in a place like Petco, is giving up fly balls, and he just doesn't. And without Ryan Braun, who are you looking at in this lineup that's just standing out other than Eric Thames? That's it. Jonathan Villar's been really, really up and down, more down than up. I'm not really worried about this lineup tonight. I'm willing to be wrong on this one. At that cheap price, you should be able to get plenty of bats in there that it's not going to hurt you too bad if he can't go out and give you a good start.
Yeah, and I think Travis Shaw's day-to-day as well. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think for price considered, he's probably my favorite option tonight. Yep. Because, if he gets you 15 DK points at 6,600, completely fine with that. If he gets me 30 on FanDuel, once again, completely fine on that. Because I don't think there's anyone who's going to throw over 45-plus FanDuel points tonight.
Probably not. No. That's about the cap. There's nobody with a huge ceiling.
No. So, looking elsewhere, who would you put number 2 here?
See, if he wasn't coming straight off of injury, it'd be Sean Manaea for me. Obviously, I didn't see anything about a pitch count. It's possible that it could be a pitch count here, but you got a Seattle team that probably won't have Robinson Cano, they've got 0 power against lefties this year, 0.07 ISO. They aren't striking out a ton. They are walking a decent amount, which, is his main concern generally. But, if you're looking at the pitchers on tonight's slate and you're looking for a guy that has strikeout upside, I mean, that's him. He is the guy with strikeout upside. 26% strikeout rate almost. Does have a walk rate of 11%, which you definitely don't like. But, he's a guy that also has gotten a little unlucky as well. 53% left on base percentage. He's not going to maintain that low of a number. Sierra and Phipp look good. So really, if you can keep the walks down, then I think he's the guy that I really like. And I mean, it's a pretty big ballpark in Seattle too. So take Robbie Cano out of their lineup. And I mean, really, Nelson Cruz is the only guy that's really been consistently good this season.
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot. And I think I'm going to try and keep an eye out for the pitch count if there is one. I mean, as of now, it just says all systems go. He did have the rehab start, which was a plus. So, I mean, it's not like he's just coming back completely not fresh. So, I mean, I do like him. I think he's a good tournament option. I mean, once again, high ground ball rate this year, missing a ton of bats. As you said, the walk rate's an issue. But I think for the most part, I mean, I feel fairly safe for him in GPPs, but I still think there is a little bit of risk.
Yeah. Oh, there's certainly some risk there because there are some guys with quite a bit of power in that lineup. But him being a lefty too, obviously that helps Nelson Cruz. But assuming Cano's not in, Seager doesn't hit lefties nearly as well. So I mean, he doesn't really hit anyone that well right now anymore because his brother stole his powers. But either way, I mean, I think he's, like I said, I don't love anybody in cash games tonight. I do think that I would consider him there, but definitely not a slam dunk option. That's going to come down to, Cano's status and all the lineup and everything.
I mean, as far as like Vegas goes, if we're just looking strictly Vegas, Jesse Chavez is a -182 home favorite. Chicago sitting around 3.5 runs. He's not an exciting guy, but I think on a 2-pitcher slate, I mean, I still think he's going to be fairly decent. There's nothing that really stands out. Once again, 15 to 18 DraftKings points is really all I'm looking for out of him. In a good ballpark there. I think SP2 wise, I mean, he might come in for me as one of the, I guess, safer options, and I'll put that in quotes because I don't feel safe about anyone. But I guess I don't mind him. He's not a FanDuel guy, but DK, I'll take a look.
Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, a lot of that's due to the fact that you expect the Angels to put up a bunch of runs on Pelfrey because he's easily the worst pitcher on the slate tonight. So, he's, well, maybe not easily, but he and Bartolo are up there as just absolute crap pitchers tonight. So if you're definitely if you're looking for the win, Chavez probably in the best spot. I mean, I'm a little concerned because he hasn't really been pitching. He's been throwing a lot of pitches, but not pitching that deep. I mean, 101, 97, 93, and 111 pitches last 4 times. He's only pitched past the 6th one of those times. It was only 6 1/3. So, I mean, home runs are an issue, giving up too many runners. But, I mean, at the same time, you're looking at other guys, and I guess he does have probably one of the better floors tonight. So, I don't expect big upside, but if you're going for safety, I'm on board.
Yeah, I just think the matchup, I mean, you look bottom 5 ISO against right-handed pitching for Chicago, bottom 5 in WOBA, 23.3% strikeout rate. They don't make a ton of hard contact. So, I mean, I think matchup kind of neutralizes his struggles a little bit. So, for the most part. But, yeah, I mean, any other slate, we're probably still not even looking at Chavez. But because we're kind of limited, he pops up on my radar.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you want to talk about your boy, Zach Wheeler?
Man, I wish that – actually, I'm kind of glad that this game's in Arizona tonight because I think you can make a case for either pitcher on this short slate because talent-wise, these two guys are, especially Wheeler, up there as far as most talent. Which, I mean, take that however you'd like on this slate. That doesn't mean a whole lot, but Wheeler's a guy that's good before, had a ton of potential before he got hurt and missed 2 entire seasons, and has struggled at times this year as well, but. He's finally starting to get it back together, had a solid start last time out, and he's another guy who's been getting, I won't say really unlucky, but, that walk rate over 10% you don't like. Strikeout rate a little bit over 21 is solid. He doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. 28% is not bad. Ground ball rate almost 56%. So, with Zach Wheeler, really the concern here is that lineup and the ballpark. But, we've got AJ Pollock looks like he's probably not going to be there. You mentioned David Peralta. He left last night's game. Maybe he doesn't play. I mean, he's really tough on righties. It's not to say that he's going to win the matchup with Paul Goldschmidt, 3 to 4 times. But, with AJ Pollock, second best hitter on that team out, I think this game is just going to have a ton of ownership, as it should, because it's at Chase Field. But it's not to say that it's just a guarantee that we're going to see 9-10 runs in this game. So I think you definitely make a case for Wheeler. If I'm talking about which one of these pitchers I want on my team, like moving forward as a future pitcher, I mean, it's Zach Wheeler easily of all these guys for me.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. And I mean, I like it because it's going kind of against the grain. I still think this feels the slate's going to draw a lot of ownership here in this game in general. So I'm with you. I mean, I think it's a great leverage play against that. I mean, for me, that's basically it. I mean, Chase Anderson is probably going to draw some interest. I don't really have any interest there. I know San Diego's bad, but Chase Anderson starting to kind of off here. Or his last few starts, and I know he
sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I know he had a decent start, but he's allowed 16 hits over the last 2 starts. I know it was against Boston and St. Louis, obviously, but struggled against Atlanta. I actually rather just roster Padres in a contrarian way against them.
Yeah, and I mean, in all reality, I mean, you look at his numbers of Chase Anderson versus last year, and he was a bad pitcher last year, and his numbers are the same. I mean, 36% ground ball rate last year, 38 this year. 36.6% hard contact last year, 36.1 this year. Like his walks and strikeouts almost identical. His home run rate is a quarter of what it was last year. I'm sure that's not going to maintain that way with a fly ball rate that's almost as high. I mean, he was bad last year. He's bad this year. There's no way I'm playing him. And he's a crappy pitcher, and I don't know why people think he's good.
No, I mean, I'd rather take the other side of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make a case on that side for sure. I mean, that's like we said, that's probably the guy that makes the most sense as your SP2, especially on DraftKings where he's cheap. So, yeah. I mean, I think you can make a case for Zach Godley, even though he's in Arizona. I mean, he's been missing a ton of bats. Was great great in both of his first 2 starts, really, especially that Detroit game. And both those games were at home at Chase Field, so you don't worry quite as much about that. So, obviously we want to see a little bit more out of him before we just decide that he's a serviceable pitcher. Because, I mean, he's had before this year, 110 innings pitched in the major leagues. Yeah. So, did have some home run issues before, big time, 1.57 per 9. So
did struggle at home as well.
Yeah. But, I mean, the good things are it keeps the ball on the ground, well above average swinging strike. He's not going to maintain 14% this year, but had almost 12% last year. So the strikeout upside's there. So if you're looking for strikeout upside, which a lot of these guys don't have tonight, I mean, he's definitely got to consider, because even if he goes out, gives up 3 or 4 runs on DraftKings, maybe a couple solo shots, but he gets you 7 or 8 Ks. I mean, he should be, if he can pitch 5-6 innings, should be up there as high strikeouts on the night. So if that's what you're chasing, I think he's a fine option.
Yep, I definitely agree. As far as like the high price guys, I mean, like Dan Straley, Joe Musgrove, Brandon McCarthy, I don't like any of them. Musgrove, I mean, he had a couple good starts last year, and then he's been pretty average since. It's rare that you see a Miami, a game in Miami feature 2 teams with over 4.5 run total, but that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it really, if you take out that 14 strikeout game for Dan Straley, which I still can't believe that even happened. I mean, he's an average pitcher. He kind of always has been an average pitcher, maybe slightly above average. But, I mean, the guy doesn't pitch deep. I mean, you look at his starts, 3 1/3, 5, 5 1/3. Skip that 14 strikeout game where he had 7 innings, 5 1/3, 5, and they pitched 7 innings last time. I mean, the guy's not that good. I mean, he's a slightly above average pitcher, but he's facing a lineup with power literally top to bottom, despite that big ballpark. You mentioned that huge total. I mean, I like McCarthy. I'm a little worried because he's coming off injury. The Dodgers like to have those quiet pitch counts they don't talk about. So I think he doesn't have a lot of upside, but he never really does. I think if you're just looking for a quality start, I mean, San Francisco's lineup has been one of the worst in baseball. They've been good in that last series against the Reds, but I mean, that's
Denard Span. Power's starting to come around.
Yeah. You need to get this guy a random drug test real quick. But I mean, I do think McCarthy. I mean, you have plenty of money. You can get any hitter, any pitcher you want tonight easily. So I do think he gives you, unless we find out he's got like a 70 pitch limit, I think he's got a pretty safe floor here. I think we'll give you 5 or 6 innings, give you maybe 2, 3 earned, 4 or 5 strikeouts, which sadly is one of the better probably floors on this slate.
And I guess that's just what I'm worried about. I mean, we've seen McCarthy throw a couple of good starts this year. I mean, his worst one was against the Phillies, ironically, when I rostered the most of them. But I mean, run total below 3.5. I mean, good road favorite. Like everything matches up. That injury scare is just the only thing that's kind of keeping me away from him.
Yeah. And I mean, he's not a guy that throws a ton of pitches anyways. You look at it, 78, 91, 86. So, I mean, he's not throwing 100 pitches no matter what, probably around 90 regardless. So, I don't know. On this slate, you don't like his price, but it just seems high relative to everyone else, I suppose. So, I think cash game SP2, he's fine, but I'm not playing him in tournaments.
No, I don't think the GPP upside's really there.
No.
So, anyone else you want to talk about?
No. I'd rather not talk about that. Talk about. I mean, no. If you force me to pick another guy, I guess it would be Joe Musgrove. Because, like we said, of course you're not playing Gallardo. He's horrible. You're not playing Chase Anderson, Cologne, Pelfrey. I mean, last year maybe if you see Bolsinger against Atlanta, maybe you consider him. But that Atlanta lineup's good, and there's no way I'm playing him. So
no, I like Atlanta bats tonight.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Yeah, no, so I'm with you. I mean, for the most part, you can look at the Chase Field guys, good contrarian options, high upside options, Perdomo, Manea. I mean, I think those are pretty much the core that we'll be taking a look at.
Yeah, same here.
So let's wrap things up here. If you want to check out Justin's pitching article, you can head over to FantasyCafe.com. Unfortunately, he had to do that today, so sucks to be you.
It was a chore today. You're welcome. For all the, hey, if you play them, good luck. I mean, yeah, you know the state of this slate. It's rough.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, your article does not come with like, a bottle of vodka or like a burger for the night.
Yeah, I had to save that for after the article now, and it's vodka time now.
At 11:30 in the morning.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I guess it's 5:30 somewhere, but
let's screw things up with us. Head on over to DaveFantasyCafe.com for all the great tools and content.